Hello and welcome to my bookshelf. Today I'll be giving you my review of Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This was the first Gillian Flynn book I've ever read. I own Gone Girl but I haven't read it yet, and let me tell you, it was a really enjoyable experience. I definitely will be reading more from her in the future. The plot is pretty straightforward. So our main character is a reporter and she's been sent back to her hometown to cover the murders of two young girls. And so she goes back to her hometown and she kind of has to deal with the craziness of the town, but also just like her own inner demons and how her childhood has affected her and all of that. So it's a really straightforward sounding plot, but I think that the writing does a lot to make the story really engaging and really interesting, very thrilling. It's definitely dark and gritty. I think those words really exemplify the feel of this book really well. It reminds me a lot of like Stephen King, you know, the gruesomeness and also like this small town feel and all of these like creepy and just like unique characters in this small town and how they have their own backstories and also just how cruel and violent people can be, even in a small town. Like, you're kind of in your own unique world when you go into this small town with our main character. It's a very different feel from like the outside world, if you will, and it's kind of a scary one. Alright, so let's just jump into my star ratings. I have recently broken this down into 4 different categories. So my overall star rating has some kind of meaning behind it. The first category is writing. I think this book is very well written. It's very engaging. It does a great job of giving you the tone of the book. It's definitely kind of like sinister and dark. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. There's this very visceral feeling when you're reading this book that's very potent. And I like her writing choices to make our main character a flawed one. Now, the reason why I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 stars is because while the pacing and the writing of the first like 4/5 of the book, 3/4 of the book, like it's really good. And then like the last few chapters, the pacing is just really fast. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I should just say that off the bat. I'm not gonna spoil anything. There was so much that happened in the last couple of chapters that we're just not given the time to develop and to grow and to just like explore, which really felt odd compared to how well the rest of the book is written and how developed everything is and how slow, like how we're just like slowly seeping into this world. And it's just done really well overall, but then we get towards the end and it's almost like she panicked and like didn't have enough time to finish like the same quality as the rest of the books. And then she just kind of, I don't know, she just jumped the pace up like really quickly. And it just kind of threw me off. It just felt a little disjointed from the rest of the book because of that. But I still like the plot. I like where it ended up. Like, I thought it was very thrilling and she does that really well. But yeah, the ending, like the pacing was just too quick. I'm not really sure what that was about, but it just felt a little odd to me. And yeah, I had to knock some points on the writing because of that, so. The next category is characters, and this again is what I think makes this book better than some other thrillers. I think that characters, they really help make or break a story, and in this case the characters were very well developed and they were very unique and very flawed, and I appreciated that she made even her main character flawed and how everyone has their own different flaws and how everyone interacts with each other and how it's different and how it changes over time. And I thought our characters were fantastic. They had a lot of depth to them. Even though these people are not exactly great people, they felt real in some sense. Yeah, it definitely had realistic elements of, you know, things that like sadly we do see in real life and how people act around other people and things like that. So yeah, I thought the characters were fantastic. They were very well developed. Yeah, I give that 5 out of 5 stars, which I really think helps add to the experience of the book. I would say that, yeah, like you can have like a really interesting writing, but if the characters just fall flat, then it really like brings down the book and it ruins the experience to me. Like the characters are super important. So she did a fantastic job with that. So moving right along, the theme of the book. I definitely felt like the theme was present throughout. There's a lot of discussion, I guess, throughout the book about this small town and the dynamics of it, and also just about families and how that affects you, and your upbringing, and just the environment that you grow up in and how that changes you as a person, and how you relate to everything. And again, like this town almost feels like its own character, and it's I don't know what it is. It has this effect on everyone. It's, like I said, very visceral, and I think that there's a lot of really interesting themes that are explored because of that. That made it, again, a more interesting thriller, because I really enjoy thrillers. They're probably my favorite genre, but a lot of them are just really bland. But this one didn't feel bland at all. It felt like it had some interesting things to say, which isn't always the case in a thriller. So I thought I did a really good job with that. I didn't give it 5 stars though, partially because the writing, like I mentioned before, like the theme was still present in those last couple chapters, but it wasn't fully developed because the writing just kind of went really quickly towards the end, and it didn't get a chance to, for whatever reason. So yeah, I kind of had to knock points for that. Like, there was so much potential, and it let me down. It could have been so much more, and I felt like the conclusion to the theme, to really fully develop it in our minds, was like there were hints of it present in the end, but again, because we didn't get that much time at the ending to really sit in it and experience it fully, I thought that it kind of fell through a little bit at the end. So again, I can't give it a full 5 out of 5 stars, like personally, for the theme. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely think there's some really interesting questions kind of raised because of this book, and some really interesting topics discussed. So overall, the theme was good, but it kind of fell short towards the end because of the writing. So the writing kind of brought it down, sadly, with it. But overall, it was a really enjoyable experience, which I can understand, like, not everyone would like this book because it is very dark and it does talk about very adult themes. Like, this is an adult book, so just keep that in mind. There's definitely, not only the themes are really dark, but also, like, there are, sex scenes in it as well. So that's kind of a warning, just as, like, a reviewer, like, I personally am not a huge fan of that stuff, and a lot of times I think sex scenes are just kind of thrown in there just because, like, sex sells, but I don't think that was the case in this book. I think that everything had its purpose, and that included those scenes. I think that it helped in some way either develop the theme of the book or help character development or the plot or things like that. So it didn't seem just completely arbitrary and thrown in there, so that I appreciated that. But I mean, it is graphic. So, that's just something to be aware of, and, what you're comfortable with. This is a book, like, if you like thrillers, if you like dark books, dark, gritty books that are thrilling, then I would definitely recommend this book. It was definitely a very thrilling, engaging read. So that is my review of Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. It is definitely a very appropriate book for October. Admittedly, I finished it before this month, but it got me in the mood for October reads. So thank you, Gillian Flynn, and thank you guys for watching my video as always, and until next time.